Trial of the decade in this state, Bardstown's 10-year-old mystery. In his first trial, accomplice Steve Lawson convicted on 2 charges for his role in the death and disappearance of Crystal Rogers. Lawson himself, as you know, if you followed our coverage last week, took the stand, but the Bowling Green jury didn't buy it.
Ultimately, the jury did not believe his story that he was unaware of a plan to kill Crystal Rogers. After 3 days of testimony, they returned a guilty verdict on all charges in just about 2.5 hours, finding him guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Well, right here now tonight, as we get ready for the next trial, Shay McAllister is answering your questions about last week's trial and what's to come.
These trials have been 10 years in the making. You guys have had a lot of questions. I knew the answers to some of these, but did call on WHAS 11 legal analyst Nick Mudd to help me with the others. The first question comes from Florence. She asked, who's the judge hearing this case in Bowling Green? Is it the same one who was over the case in Bardstown? The answer is yes. Nelson County Judge Charles Sims is the presiding judge over the trials. His court staff also moved to Bowling Green for the case, maintaining court records while the trials are underway. The next question came from Chastity. She asked, can you explain the chop shop activity? Did he know it was Crystal's car? Well, this question comes in response to Steve Lawson's testimony. He said he spotted Crystal's car parked on Thompson Hill Road on the night she went missing. Steve said there was a known chop shop or place where stolen cars are dismantled so the parts can be sold up there on Thompson Hill Road. Steve told the jury he knew it was Crystal's car and he thought his son, Joseph Lawson, was trying to steal it. He told his son to move the car off of that property because a friend owned the land and Steve didn't want his friend getting in trouble for having a stolen car that was parked there. The next question came from Michelle. She asked, any thoughts or talk of Joseph Lawson being offered a deal to cooperate? Well, I called on WHAS 11 legal analyst Nick Mudd to help with this one. He said, there is a constant chatter of plea deals with both Steve Lawson and Joseph Lawson. His take was the prosecution would like them to testify against Brooks Houck regarding the night Crystal disappeared. But Steve Lawson has serious credibility issues. Mudd says a deal for him is less likely, but a deal with Joseph Lawson probably on the table. The next question came from Tiffany. She asked, I have seen many trials that had one or more defendant. However, they were always charged with the same charges. Could this potentially be confusing for the jurors who are on this case? Nick Mudd answered this one. He said it can be very confusing, but at the end of the case, when the judge gives the jury instructions, Joseph Lawson will have one set of instructions that apply only to him, and Brooks Houck will have another separate set of jury instructions that apply only to him. Nick Mudd believes this will help clear up any confusion. We got a few questions about other cases being mentioned during the next trial, specifically the Tommy Ballard and Jason Ellis case. Christina and Kylie asked, will they be brought up as part of evidence at the Brooks Houck trial? Nick Mudd said, we may hear some things creep into the trial as it goes along. However, the main thing to understand here is that this is not a case about Tommy Ballard or Jason Ellis. This is about who killed Crystal Rogers. And I believe the judge is going to make sure that all parties stay focused on that being the central issue. And speaking of other cases, Dana asked, I'm curious as to why when they mention the other cases, they never mention the teacher and daughter anymore. Are these thought to be unrelated? Well, I can't speak for the prosecutors here, but I can tell you we have had members of the Netherlands family contact WHAS 11 and ask us not to connect the cases. They told us they don't believe that they're related, so I typically don't mention them out of respect for the family. And the last question comes from Lori. She asked, the cop car showed signs of evidence. Was that evidence not enough to prove there was indeed a body or bodily fluids in the trunk? If so, why is Nick not deemed a suspect? Well, this question comes in connection to a police interview with Nick Houck, which includes the detective telling Nick there was evidence of bodily fluids in his trunk. Nick Mudd answered this one for us. He said, right now we don't have enough discovery that's been revealed to us to make any sort of determination regarding this. Certainly, Nick is considered a suspect, but we don't know whether or not the prosecutor may end up charging Nick after this case is over with. It can happen and certainly seems highly likely, but right now the main focus for them is securing a conviction against Houck for the death of Crystal Rogers. The next trial in this case is scheduled for June 24th when Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson will face a jury back in Bowling Green. We will be there in the courtroom. You can follow along with my courtroom notes on WHAS11.com.
That's right, no cameras allowed in the courtroom. Once again, it is old school coverage for sure. I invite you to check out our coverage of the Steve Lawson trial, including the dramatic day of the verdict last week, as WHAS 11 News legal analyst Nick Mudd also talks about its possible impact on the trial of Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson. It's all right now airing on the free WHAS 11 Plus app.